The Zentari-class warship Varkana moved silently through the black sea of space. Inside, the air was filled with tension. Lights blinked on the command bridge, screens showed moving data, and alien officers moved like machines, quick, precise. Cold Lieutenant Alex Rourke stood at his station, surrounded by tall figures with sharp insect-like features. The Ankari, an alien species known for their strict rules, fast thinking, and zero tolerance for mistakes. Alex was the only human on the bridge. At the center of the room stood Captain Terrell. She was taller than most Ankari, her silver armor shining. Under the lights, her voice was sharp and quick. "Lieutenant Rourke, why are you hesitating? Launch the decoy drones. Now!" Alex's fingers flew across the controls, but his brain raced even faster. The controls were different than human ships. Everything was written in Ankari symbols. His training was solid, but nothing could prepare him for this pressure. I'm trying, ma'am," he answered, sweat forming on his brow. Terrell's glowing eyes narrowed. "Trying is not action. You are wasting time. You are wasting lives. Initiate the launch or step aside." The other officers didn't even blink. This kind of shouting was normal here. Alex felt his heart thump. He wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of being treated like a weak, slow creature from a soft species. Tired of proving himself every hour. And for a split second, instead of snapping or defending himself, he chose something different. He looked straight at her and said in a calm voice, "You look amazing today." The bridge went silent. Every Ankari stopped. Even the background hum of computers seemed to fade for a moment. Terrell stood frozen, her mouth slightly open, her next command unfinished. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that. Not in battle, not in public, not ever. Alex immediately felt the weight of what he said. I mean, your armor. It's very well designed," he added quickly, trying to smooth over the moment. Terrell said nothing. Then, without a word, she turned and walked off the bridge, her footsteps echoing behind her. The Ankari officers looked at each other, unsure. Alex looked down, confused and nervous. Hours later, Alex was sitting in the small human quarters assigned to him. The walls were smooth metal, the lights dim. He was drinking rehydrated coffee from a metal mug when Commander Juno, his superior, officer from the Human Alliance, called in via holoscreen. "Rourke, what did you say to her?" Alex rubbed the back of his neck. "I told her she looked amazing." Juno blinked. "You what?" "It just came out. I was under pressure. She was yelling. I just thought maybe a human-style compliment might cut through it." Juno sighed deeply. "Alex, the Ankari don't compliment each other, ever. Their culture sees personal comments, especially appearance-related ones, as emotionally dangerous. You basically hit her brain's panic button." "Well, she did look impressive," Alex said quietly. "That's not the point," Juno said. "You didn't break any rules, but be careful. She's a decorated war commander. She's not used to being seen." Later that night, the ship was quiet. Alex walked alone down the dim corridors thinking. He didn't regret what he said. He didn't mean it as a joke or insult. It was real. Captain Terrell had something powerful about her, something beyond command codes and strategy maps. As he turned a corner, he nearly walked into her. Terrell stood there, arms folded behind her back. Her eyes were unreadable. Terrell tilted her head. "I have led over 40 campaigns, commanded over 300 vessels, but today my thoughts became scattered. Your words caused a ripple. I'm sorry if I crossed a line." She paused. "You did not cross a line. You drew one, between our cultures, and I did not expect to feel curious about it." Before Alex could answer, Terrell nodded and walked past him. As she disappeared down the hallway, Alex smiled slightly. For the first time since arriving on Varkana, he felt something new growing in the cold metal halls of the alien warship. Possibility. The next morning on the warship Varkana, the air felt different. The Ankari officers walked with the same perfect, posture, the same fast steps and the same emotionless expressions. But something invisible had changed. Whispers, quiet and coded, passed between them, not spoken aloud but in glances and stillness, and all of them at some point turned their eyes toward the human, Lieutenant Alex Rourke. Alex could feel it. Eyes followed him when he moved. Conversations paused when he entered a room. No one said anything directly, but it was clear. His words to Captain Terrell had shaken the bridge more than any enemy weapon could. Still, no one talked to him about it, not even Terrell herself. She had not spoken to him since their hallway, meeting the night before. She came to the bridge, gave her commands in her usual sharp voice, and walked past him like he didn't exist. At first, Alex thought she might be angry, but her tone with the others hadn't changed. And once, when he looked up quickly, he caught her staring at him from across the room, just for a second, before she turned away. Something was happening, and Alex didn't understand it. That afternoon, Alex sat in the ship's small library, a quiet, cold room filled with data panels and cultural records from different species. He opened a file labeled Nkari Psychology Emotional Protocols and began to read. It was like reading about a different universe. The Nkari were raised in a society built on control. From childhood, they were taught to suppress feelings. Joy, sadness, anger. These were seen as distractions. Compliments were not part of their world. Direct personal attention was rare and uncomfortable, even among family members. One line stood out to him. To give a Nkari an emotional statement is to strike a crack in the wall they built since birth. Alex leaned back and stared at the ceiling. And I did it in front of the whole crew. He wasn't sure if he should be sorry or proud. All he had done was be human, honest, kind, maybe a little bold. But on this ship, that was a big deal. Meanwhile, far from Varkana, a new problem was rising. An enemy fleet unknown to both humans and Nkari had been spotted moving near the edge of Allied space. 3 scout ships had vanished. No wreckage, no distress signals, just silence. Captain Terrell was called to the command chamber to review the data. The screen showed a star map. Red dots marked the last known positions of the lost ships. The pattern was too clean, too fast. This is not random, she said. They are testing our borders. A Nkari officer spoke up. We request a retreat to safer ground. Terrell shook her head. No. We hold position. Prepare defense codes Gamma Vec. But inside, for the first time in years, she felt distracted. Her mind kept circling back to the human. His words, his calm eyes, his strange, open expression. You look amazing today. Those words played in her head over and over. She hated that they did. And yet, she didn't. Back in the crew lounge, a group of mixed-species officers sat around a table. Some Nkari, a few humans, and even a tall Virelli technician from another Alliance race. I heard he complimented. Her face, one whispered. No, said another. He said her armor looked good, that's different. Still she walked out. Never seen her do that. Alex entered and the voices stopped. He grabbed a nutrient bar and sat alone at the far end. After a moment, a Nkari junior officer, slim, with silver markings on her neck, approached him. She stood stiffly, obviously uncomfortable. Lieutenant. Rourke, she said. I was, ordered to tell you that Captain Terrell is requesting your presence in her private ready room. Alex stood slowly. Did she say why? No, the officer replied. She just said, bring the human. Inside the ready room, the lights were low. A star map glowed softly in the background. Terrell stood beside it, hands behind her back. Alex entered and waited. Lieutenant, she said, not turning. You caused something unexpected. I didn't mean to offend you. You didn't. But you shifted something. Alex remained quiet. She finally turned to face him. Her voice was lower now. I have seen many battles. I've crushed invasions, commanded thousands, but no enemy ever disrupted my focus. Until you spoke those words. Alex gave a small nod. We humans, we talk to each other like that. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it calms storms. Tyrell stared at him, thoughtful. Perhaps your storms are not so different from ours. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Tyrell said, We are entering hostile space soon. Unknown enemies. I may need you to speak to the crew. They respond to you. Of course, Alex replied. Whatever you need. She nodded. Good. And, Lieutenant? Yes, Captain. Her voice softened just slightly. Don't say something like that again. Not unless you truly mean it. Alex smiled gently. I always mean it. Tyrell said nothing, but as he left the room, she looked at the door for a long time, her expression unreadable, but no longer cold. Lieutenant Alex Rourke sat quietly in the observation deck of the Varkana. Through the large, transparent window, stars drifted by, like glowing dust. But his mind wasn't on the stars. His thoughts were full of questions, about Captain Tyrell, about the Inkari, and about the silent wall between their cultures. He had never expected a single compliment to change so much. Back, on Earth, calling someone amazing might make them smile. But here, on this alien warship, it had shaken the most feared commander in the fleet. She had started acting differently since then, still serious, still firm, but sometimes she paused before giving orders. Sometimes her eyes looked lost, in thought. Alex knew this wasn't just about him. It was about something deeper. So he returned to the ship's data library, the same cold room where he had first read about Inkari psychology. He searched for deeper history files, older texts, and he found one. The Shaping of Silence, Inkari Emotional History. The file was long, but he read every word. Thousands of years ago, the Inkari had been like humans, loud, expressive, full of laughter and arguments. But after a series of brutal civil wars, their leaders made a decision. Emotions caused chaos, so they rewrote their society. Feelings became shameful. Control became law. Families stopped using names and began using ranks. Love was replaced with duty. Praise was seen as a weakness. Over generations, the Inkari became quiet, precise, powerful, but emotionally locked away. Walls were built, the file said, not from stone but from silence. Alex sat back, stunned. It wasn't just cultural, it was history, pain and fear passed through time. And Tyrell had grown up behind those same invisible walls. And then he, a human from Earth, had walked in and knocked on them with just 5 words. Later that day, the ship prepared for a new mission. A strange signal had been detected from a nearby dead zone, a region where ships often vanished without explanation. The signal wasn't human, wasn't Inkari. It was something else. Tyrell gathered her officers in the war room. The star map showed a blinking red light, far from any known trade route. This could be the enemy we sensed earlier, she said. Scout ships have gone missing here. An Inkari commander asked. Should we wait for reinforcements? Tyrell glanced at Alex. No. We go now. Fear spreads in silence. We must show we are not afraid. Alex saw something new in her eyes. Not just command, but courage mixed with uncertainty. She was changing. As the ship entered the dead zone, the stars seemed to dim. Signals became weaker. Communication delays increased. It felt like the universe was holding its breath. Suddenly, the alarm sounded. Unknown ships approaching, cloaked. 9 vessels. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Alex rushed to his station as Inkari officers scrambled to battle positions. Tyrell's voice was firm. Hold formation. Load ion charges. Prepare shield vectors. Alex looked at the incoming data. The enemy ships were fast. Too fast. They weren't attacking yet, just circling. They're testing us, he said aloud. Looking for weaknesses. Tyrell nodded. They won't find any. But inside, she was struggling. Her thoughts were scattered again, something that never happened before. Ever since the compliment, emotions she had buried long ago had started to rise. In the middle of battle, those feelings were dangerous. She closed her eyes just for a second, and Alex noticed. He stepped forward. "Captain, I'll handle tactical commands if needed." Terrell opened her eyes and stared at him. Her crew looked surprised. No human had ever said that to a Ankari commander. But instead of anger, Terrell said, "Stand by. I may call on you." For the first time, she allowed someone else to help her. The enemy finally attacked. A burst of energy lit up the dark space. The Varkana shook under fire. Nakari gunners fired back with calm precision. Alex relayed target data. The ship twisted and moved like a living thing. After 10 minutes of intense battle, 3 enemy ships were disabled. The rest vanished into hyperspace. Everyone on the bridge cheered, quietly of course. The Ankari never celebrated loudly. But small nods were exchanged. That meant everything. Trell walked to Alex and said softly, "Your instincts were sharp. You were useful." Alex smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." She paused. It was. For a second, there was silence between them. Not cold silence, a peaceful one. That night, as the ship repaired its shields, Alex sat once again in the observation deck. This time, Captain Terrell joined him. She didn't speak for a long while. Then finally, she said, "We weren't always like this." "I read your history," Alex replied. "I wonder," she said, "what we lost in building our walls." Alex looked at the stars. "Maybe you didn't lose it. Maybe it was just waiting." Terrell looked at him, her eyes softer than before. "Human," she said quietly. "You say dangerous things, but I no longer fear them." The Varkana drifted in orbit above a cold, silent planet. Its surface was covered in dark ice with deep cracks like old scars. No signals, no cities, no life, at least nothing that showed on the sensors, but Captain Terrell wasn't convinced. "This place doesn't feel empty," she said to her crew, her sharp eyes fixed on the planet below. "Something is hiding." Lieutenant Alex Rourke stood near her. He'd grown used to the cold, clean air of the Nakari ship and the quiet stares from the crew. Since the battle in the dead zone, many officers treated him with cautious respect. Some still avoided him, but no one doubted his place anymore. He had earned that with honesty, calm under pressure, and a strange ability to get through to their unshakable captain. A small landing team was prepared. Terrell led the group herself, something unusual for a Ankari captain. Her officers tried to protest, but she silenced them with a glance. Alex was included in the team. When he asked why, Terrell only said, "You see things we don't." They descended in a dark gray dropship which cut through the planet's frozen atmosphere like a falling blade. The surface was colder than expected. Wind howled across the rocky ground. Their boots crunched over ice as they moved through a narrow canyon. Alex looked around. This place doesn't feel dead. It feels like it's watching. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on Terrell's wrist device. "Movement," she said. From the cracks in the ground, tall figures began to rise, made of black metal and glowing red eyes. Not machines, not fully alive. Something in between. "Automated guardians," Terrell said quickly. "Defensive drones from another era." The figures moved fast, too fast for standard weapons. "Form defensive circle," Terrell shouted. The team fought back with skill, but the machines were strong. One Ankari soldier was thrown against a rock and didn't get up. Sparks lit the air. Alex fired with the rifle he was given, aiming for the glowing cores. "This isn't working," he yelled. "They're not defending territory, they're protecting something. A signal, maybe." Terrell heard him and scanned the area. Her eyes landed on a small structure half buried in ice. A tower, ancient and humming with power. "There," she shouted. "We disable that tower. We stop the Guardians." Alex ran with her. They dodged blasts, slid under broken walls, and reached the base of the tower. Terrell pulled out a pulse charge. "This will disable the energy field," she said. "But I must place it at the top." "I'll go," Alex said without hesitation. She stared at him. "You could die." He smiled faintly. "You're starting to sound like you care." For a moment, Terrell didn't answer. Then she said quietly, "Go." Alex climbed the icy structure, hands numb from cold. Below, Terrell and the others fought to hold the machines back. A blast hit the wall near her, but she didn't move. Her eyes stayed on Alex. At the top, he planted the charge. "Captain, it's set." Terrell tapped her wrist. "Detonating! Now!" A burst of blue light exploded from the tower. The machines around them froze, their red eyes dimming. Silence returned to the icy land. Later, the team returned to the ship with the ancient data core they found inside the tower. It was old, older than any known Ankari tech, but it carried a message, a warning. Alex stood beside Terrell as they watched the decrypted footage. A hologram showed a new enemy species, tall, faceless beings with flowing cloaks and shifting shadows, not made of flesh, not machine, something worse. "They're not conquerors," Alex said. "They're cleaners. They erase." Terrell nodded. "They remove what doesn't serve their design." "They erased that planet," he whispered. "And now they're heading for us." In the days that followed, the atmosphere on the Varkana changed again. There was no panic, but the crew was no longer silent. Whispers spread, voices rose in hallways, officers began to talk, quietly, carefully, but with feeling. Some even asked Alex questions. About Earth, about humans, about emotions. And Terrell changed too. She no longer stood alone on the bridge. She asked for suggestions, not just orders. And sometimes, when no one was looking, she smiled. One evening she met Alex in the observation deck again. "You risked your life for a species that keeps walls up," she said. "I risked it for someone I believe in," Alex answered. Terrell looked away. "I was trained to never need belief, only logic. But lately, I wonder if we were taught wrong." Alex said nothing. He let the silence sit there. It wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, comfortable. She turned to him. "You said I looked amazing." "Once, why?" He looked at her, calm and honest. "Because you did. Because I saw strength. And something more." Terrell was quiet. "What more?" He shrugged gently. "Maybe something you forgot was still inside you." Terrell closed her eyes. "Then I will try to remember." The Varkana was no longer just a warship. It had become a place where silence slowly gave way to conversation, where cold walls began to warm. The crew moved with more purpose, more connection. And at the center of this change were Captain Terrell and Lieutenant Alex Rourke. The new enemy, the shadow-like beings, was no longer just a distant threat. Intelligence reports warned they were moving closer, their fleet gathering beyond the edge of Allied space. But something else was happening. Terrell, once unshakable and solitary, was showing signs of change. After their mission on the icy planet, she began spending time in places she once avoided. The crew quarters, the mess hall, even the human sections of the ship. Alex noticed how she listened more and commanded less. Sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she smiled quietly or let a small laugh slip out. It was strange but welcome. One evening, the bridge was busy. The crew was preparing for a long-range scan of a nearby star system, possible enemy activity. Terrell stood at the front, her usual calm strength anchoring the room. Alex was at his console when a sudden alert flashed. "Captain," the Ankari officer called out. "Unidentified. Ship approaching fast. No signals, no ID." The crew tensed. "Prepare for possible contact," Terrell ordered. "All weapons ready." The unknown ship slowed and stopped at a safe distance. Its hull was sleek but worn. Marks of battle evident. Voice crackled over the comm. It was unfamiliar, a mix of harsh clicks and soft tones. "We are the Kalaran," the voice said. "We seek alliance. Or war." Trell's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" The Kalaran ship's screen flickered. An image appeared. A tall figure draped in cloaks of shifting shadows. The same beings from the ancient warning. "They come," the figure said. "We offer choice. Join us or be erased." The bridge fell silent. Alex's heart pounded. Trell turned to her officers. "We cannot negotiate with those who erase life. Prepare defensive shields, but open a channel for communication." Alex approached her. "Captain, maybe we can learn something. Maybe they fear us." She looked at him, her eyes tired but fierce. "We must be ready. But yes, open the line." The Kalaran figure spoke again. "Humans and Ankari are weak. Your emotions and your walls make you slow." Alex stepped forward. "We are stronger. Because of them. Because we feel. Because we trust." Trell was surprised. No one had spoken so boldly. The figure's eyes flickered. "Trust is weakness." Alex shook his head. "Trust is strength. It binds us. It helps us fight harder. It helps us survive." A pause. Then the figure said, "We shall see." Days passed with tense silence. The Kalaran watched but did not attack. The Varkana and its crew prepared for war, but Alex's words had planted something new. Trell found herself reflecting more on what he said about trust. She remembered the moment Alex had complimented her, the moment she had frozen. Maybe that had been the first crack in her wall. She called Alex to her ready room. "You changed something in me," she admitted. He smiled gently. "Maybe I just reminded you what's inside." She leaned back. "The Kalaran believe emotions make us weak. And maybe they're right to fear it," Alex said. "Because when we trust each other, we become unstoppable." The time came for the Varkana to face the Kalaran fleet. It was a battle unlike any before. Space filled with flashes of light, shields humming, and the cries of ancient machines. But the humans and Ankari fought together, side by side, with trust and courage. Trell and Alex led the charge, their bond a symbol of unity. The Kalaran fleet retreated, defeated but not destroyed. As calm returned, Trell stood beside Alex on the bridge. "You were right," she said quietly. "Trust is not weakness." Alex nodded. "And you look amazing today." She smiled, this time without freezing. After the battle with the Kalaran fleet, the Varkana sailed through the calm stars like a ship reborn. The crew no longer moved like strangers sharing space. They moved like a family. The quiet walls that once held everyone apart had begun to crumble, replaced by something stronger. Captain Trell sat in her command chair, eyes scanning the starfield outside. The stars seemed different now, brighter, fuller, like the hope growing inside her. Lieutenant Alex Rourke approached quietly. "The fleet commanders want to meet with you, Captain. They're ready to discuss the next step." Trell nodded. "Good. We must keep our allies united. The Kalaran will not stop." Alex paused, then asked softly, "Captain, how do you feel?" Trell looked at him, surprised by the question. She had grown used to hiding her feelings, focusing on logic and duty, but now she realized she felt something new, something she could not name. "I feel," she began, then paused, "stronger and less afraid." Alex smiled. "That's good. It's what I hoped." The meeting with the Allied commanders was held in the Varkana's war room. Holograms of distant fleets and star systems floated above the table. Voices spoke of strategies, defenses, and preparations. But Trell spoke with a new voice, calm, confident, but also open. "We cannot win by fear alone," she said. "We need trust between our species, our ships, and our crews. Only then can we face the Kalaran and protect our homes." The commanders listened. Some nodded, others hesitated. Trust was a new idea to many. After the meeting, Terrell and Alex walked through the ship's corridors. The crew passed by, smiling, greeting them with a warmth that once would have seemed impossible. Terrell stopped and looked at Alex. "I was trained to be alone, to bill him down." Alex nodded. "Walls protect us, but they can also trap us." She smiled. "And what happens when the walls fall?" "Then we find the strength inside ourselves, and in each other," he said. Days later, the Varkana received a distress call from a nearby colony under attack by Kalaran forces. The colony was vulnerable. Small defenses, unprepared civilians. Terrell didn't hesitate. "Prepare to jump to their coordinates. We protect them." Alex helped plan the rescue. Together, they coordinated the fleet's response, combining human tactics and Nkari precision. When the Varkana arrived, the scene was chaos. Explosions lit the sky. Civilians ran for shelter. Kalaran ships bombarded the surface. Terrell led the landing team with Alex by her side. As they moved through the colony streets, they worked to evacuate people, organize defenses, and stop the enemy. The Kalaran attacked relentlessly, but the defenders fought back fiercely, human, Nkari, and others united. At one point, a group of children was trapped under debris. Terrell and Alex worked quickly to free them. The youngest child looked up at Terrell and smiled. "You saved us," the child said simply. Terrell felt a warmth in her chest she had never known. "We protect each other," she said softly. Back on the ship after the rescue, Terrell and Alex stood on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, but now they seemed full of promise. "You have changed this crew," Alex said. Terrell looked at him, her eyes bright. "And you changed me." Alex smiled. "Sometimes all it takes is a few kind words." She laughed quietly. "You told me I looked amazing." He nodded. "I meant it." Terrell's smile deepened. "Thank you." As the Varkana continued its journey, Terrell and Alex prepared for the battles ahead, not just in space but within themselves and their people. They had learned that strength was not just in weapons or shields, but in trust, courage, and the kyo, willingness to open hearts. The walls they once built had begun to fall, and what was left was stronger than ever. The stars outside the Varkana glittered like countless diamonds scattered across the black velvet of space. For the crew, each star was a beacon of hope. Hope for peace, hope for unity, and hope for the future. Captain Terrell stood on the bridge, her hands resting lightly on the console. Her eyes were sharp but softened by something new. Understanding. The walls she once built around herself had crumbled, replaced by a quiet strength that came from trust and connection. Lieutenant Alex Rourke stood beside her, watching the stars too. They had been through battles, losses, and victories together. They had faced an enemy that erased worlds, and they had found a way to fight back, not just with weapons, but with courage and belief in each other. The final battle was close. The Kalaran fleet advanced with deadly purpose. Their ships moved like shadows, cloaked and silent, aiming to crush the Allied forces before they could unite fully. But the Varkana and its fleet were ready. Terrell turned to her crew. "This fight is not just for survival. It is for the future. We build together. Remember what trust gives us, strength." The crew nodded, their faces steady. Alex stepped forward. "We fight for more than ourselves. We fight for every life that believes in hope." The fleet moved as one, shields glowing, weapons primed. The silence of space was shattered by bursts of energy and the roar of engines. During the battle, Terrell's mind was clear. She commanded with precision but also with heart. When a fellow ship was hit, she ordered rescue teams immediately. When a new attack strategy came from a human captain, she listened and adapted. Alex coordinated fighters with calm focus, trusting his Nkari and human comrades equally. Together they broke the Kalaran's advance. The enemy retreated, defeated but not destroyed. After the battle, the fleet gathered in orbit around a peaceful planet. It was time to rebuild, to heal. Terrell and Alex stood on the observation deck once more. The stars were quiet, but their hearts were full. "You changed more than just me," Terrell said. You changed what it means to be Inkari. Alex smiled. Maybe we all needed a reminder. She looked at him and then out at the stars. Thank you for saying what no one else could. He shrugged. Sometimes, all it takes is a simple truth. They stood together in silence, the future open before them. Weeks later, the Varkana was no longer just a warship. It had become a symbol of unity between humans and Inkari, a beacon for other species who believed in trust and hope. Captain Terrell began visiting colonies and talks were held to form new alliances. Walls between species fell as trust grew. Alex continued to serve, no longer just a lieutenant, but a bridge between worlds. One day, on a quiet world under twin suns, Terrell and Alex walked among the people who now lived without fear. Children played, laughter filled the air, and the sky was alive with color. Terrell looked at Alex. We have built something new. Alex nodded. A future where walls don't separate us. She smiled, the warmth of 1,000 stars in her eyes. And you look amazing today. Alex laughed. I'll take that as the highest honor. They walked forward, ready to face whatever came next. Together,